In the Catch Fence post-race show where Christopher Clutch comes through again for Joe Gibbs Racing, but it wasn't all good for Joe Gibbs Racing. And Kyle Larson decides that he's going to be Juan Pablo Montoya for Halloween. So we'll talk about that next on the post-race show. Welcome in. My name is Ryan Pierce. I'm with Travis, and the best way you get a general, authentic reaction is you don't tell your partner that you're going to make fun of his favorite driver right before you cut to a nice little scene there. So, Travis, how you doing, buddy?
My remote is not very well. After Larson did that, my remote might have exploded because they got thrown across the room. But I'm okay. Hurt feelings a little bit, but we're living it. We're okay. But did you ever hear the joke about the Juan Pablo Montoya joke?
I haven't heard it. Let's hear it.
So, how many people does it take to hit the pace car or hit a work truck or whatever?
How many? One. That's pretty bad.
That is pretty bad.
We don't bring you in here for your jokes.
No, that is pretty bad. I think I heard that from Clint Boyer. I think he made that joke one time.
That sounds about right.
I think Clint Boyer made that over the radio. Right. I forget the exact context of it, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I do know that Denny Hamlin one time made a joke about Kyle Larson and had to go to sensitivity training. So it is what it is. We won't send you to sensitivity training.
I appreciate
it. But we did have a wonderful race today. Those of you that are NASCAR fans, regardless of who your driver was, if you can't appreciate today's race, maybe NASCAR is not the sport for you, because from the beginning to the end, we had, cars that started off really fast and then started to fade, which we talked about. Travis told you on the weekly show, you're going to have guys that have to be able to run multiple grooves. We saw that again today. And ultimately, we saw absolute chaos and just organic chaos in the final 30 to 40 laps of this, where actually two cars for the same team simultaneously got knocked out of the race and ultimately are the outside looking in of the playoffs right now. But that is just me trying to hedge my way to ask you this question, Travis. Was today's race a good race?
If you don't like Homestead, you don't like NASCAR. I mean, Homestead is just, it's incredible. I mean, all the different grooves, all the way to the different ways to pass somebody. You could be short and sweet about this. I mean, love it. There's multiple grooves, people on the wall. People run the bottom. I've seen more people run the bottom today than I did in years past. And I think that came from, there was some shade cover on the tracks. There was obviously more grip. People could run lower. It's always great, but everyone wanders to the top. I always say that it shows who's got the balls and who doesn't have the balls. If you want to run the fence, you got a set of balls. But if you don't, you probably don't have a set of balls. So great race. I thought it was great. It was entertaining from the drop of the green flag to essentially the end. I mean, it got entertaining. It's just the way that track has always been. I still am just ticked that it's not the last race of the year, but maybe it's because my driver's incredible at it. But it's always just a good track. It just shows you who's the true racer.
Yeah, I think that this track, we've had a lot of tracks be ruined due to reconfigurations, and Homestead deserves a round of applause for what they've turned this track into. They tried to make it like a mini Indianapolis Motor Speedway when it was first designed, 4 corners, flat, and things like that. And you're like, yeah, that's not really working out for great racing. And whoever did it should take notes, or maybe they retired and they just decided to destroy all the other tracks. I have no idea what went into the reconfiguration of Homestead, but it is literally one of my favorite tracks on the circuit. I have 2 tracks that are, I wouldn't say today's track is a technical track, but it is a challenge to the driver because, like you said, you have to run low to pass people to then get to the high. Or if you want to be fast, you got to grab a pair and run against the wall. I mean, inches against the wall. And that I thought NBC did a great job today discussing the difference between running against the wall here versus at Darlington. You don't just run against the wall, you start against the wall. And Christopher Bell, somebody that traditionally is not like to do that, ends up doing it today. But, and we'll get into it later about why this track is no longer the finale compared to what we've seen. But I would say that this is probably the best race we've had in 2 months. I mean, it's been you made a great point. Like, I've never seen drivers be fast at the bottom, not just to start off the race, but throughout the race. I mean, there was drivers like at Christopher Bell at one point, his fastest in 1 and 2 was at the bottom, and that just wasn't the way it was before. You saw drivers make mistakes. You saw, guys that were really, really fast in the beginning, then were slow at the end. You saw, I mean, Christopher Bell was in 20th place, and talking about how he's going to actually start trying now so he doesn't get lapped, and tongue in cheek, and then ends up winning this race. I mean, just an all around everything you could organically want to come out of a race for it to be exciting, I thought happened today.
Like I said, it was fun. It was entertaining. I did not see Bell winning even with like 60 to go. Then he flew around everyone on the outside on that one restart, and I was like, where the hell did he come from? And then sure enough, it's usually how it works. And if I was thinking about the race, was usually if Larson wrecks or gets taken out while he's leading, guess who usually wins that race? Byron. So I was like, Byron took the lead, and I went, well, this is going to be another one of those where Larson takes himself out or gets taken out, and Byron was going to take the win, but he couldn't hold him off. He didn't have the long run speed, and Bell put on a act, and I think you said it best. This crew chief made the right changes, and victory lane going to the championship 4.
Yeah, and we'll now go into Christopher Bell. I call him Christopher Clutch. He's been faced now a few different times, and not by his own doing. His pit crew, not the greatest. When they had the money stop, they put him 2 positions behind where he needed to be, and he just has found a way in the playoffs to win. I mean, it's one thing to put yourself in a position to advance, but Christopher Bell has found a way to get into victory lane the last 2 years now with the next gen car, and has done what it takes to move into the championship 4 now in back-to-back years. And, we kind of had some banter back and forth, and I was pretty steady on Christopher Bell. And, I talked a lot. I said, we got 2 crew chiefs that I think separate themselves from the best of the best. And you said Cliff Daniels, and I completely agreed with you. And I said, and I think Adam Stevens is right there with him. And you saw that today. Christopher Bell had to drive a great race, but Adam Stevens also had to completely throw everything at this car. And he did it with 20 laps left to finally get it good enough. And Christopher Bell drove, a car into victory lane. And at one point, to kind of seal it up, he had Ryan Blaney catching up with him. And you could just tell that the car was good enough, the driver was good enough to hold that off. And we didn't have a situation like we did last week where, somebody came hard charging and came down to the last lap. Christopher Bell put the seal on it and, finds himself in the championship 4 in back-to-back years.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the nail. I mean, he's been very clutch, been very, when he needs a win, he's there. I think a lot of those things are very good timing as well. Think about, last year strategy, I think played out more in those 2 wins last year at the Roval and at Martinsville. Strategy played out to where he won both those races. Clutch, great strategy calls. I think today I still don't think he was the best car. I thought he had a couple people still in front of him. I think Ryan Blaney got a little damage when Larson hit him. Obviously, I still think the best car was still going to be Larson at some point if he got back out in front. But, Bell played his cards correctly. Adam Stevens, as always, comes through with the clutch, with the right call and everything, got him back up front, made the right adjustments, and came away the winner. It played right into his favor. And, I think at the last 50 laps, he was probably one of the better cars last week. I think he was. I think he had 2 more laps. I think he gets around Larson last week. So, kudos to them. They're obviously going in the right direction as of right now. So, and then obviously won at Martinsville last year. I still think that is all strategy going into Martinsville. So that's a crapshoot. I still think it's getting to the point where it's almost like a Dega. If you get the right strategy at the end, you hate to say that, but you're whatever position. So kudos to them, good for them. And, he's always very, he's always very humble too. So it's hard not to not cheer for him.
Yeah, I just looked at it today, and I don't know if you're like this, Travis, but when I'm watching the race, especially since my guy was worse than Austin Dillon today, I was thinking about the things going on in the race, and I'm like, okay, so if this happens, what's the storyline going to be? We got a show to do. We're trying to get people entertained. I'm like, okay, well, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, they finally look good. We might have a Joe Gibbs Racing versus a Hendrick Motorsports Final Four. Last year we had, Trackhouse, JGR, Penske, and Hendricks, and I'm like, maybe now we'll just have the colossal of the giants, just facing off, and and that's what we'll talk about. That came to a screeching halt
quickly, within about 5 minutes of all of a sudden JGR looked, Joe Gibbs was out of the picture.
Yeah, because Denny Hamlin, while battling with Ryan Blaney, and this was a great battle. This was a tremendous back and forth affair where Denny Hamlin gets a nose in front, and then Ryan Blaney squeezes him to take the air off of him. And just like you were talking about, you had to be good high and low. And they switched. One would go high, one would go low. One would go low, one would go high. And they finally get it worked out. And as soon as they get it worked out, something breaks on Denny Hamlin's car. You can see it on the end car. The wheel just snapped right out of his hands and goes straight into the fence. And then you're like, damn, that's a tough break for Denny. And then the caution that they needed for Martin Truex to come back up after having to be at the tail end of the longest line, he did, in today's day and age, blows an engine. And you just never see cars today blow an engine like you used to. I mean, like you said, if Christopher Bell doesn't win that, Joe Gibbs, man, what a horrific day that was looking like gold most of the night.
I was trying to think of the points, and I had it calculated, but I'm pretty sure if Christopher Bell wins, I think the points I think if he even finishes second, I think he's still in by like 7 or 8 points because he didn't get a lot of stage points. So he still gets in, but it's like, what a flip of a switch. People are routed out Bell like I did. I just think didn't he have a chance? And then all of a sudden here we are watching Denny Hamlin, hit some brakes on his car and wrecks. Here comes Martin Truex, blows up, which he's been awful in the last 9 races. I mean, that's for a different story. But
Pit Crew sucked again.
Oh my God!
As they have now been in the 30s since the
Truex, I thought was going to get out of his car and fight them all. I think he was going to pull a little Ricky Bobby, and the guy, it wasn't Ricky, but whoever that driver was before Ricky, got out of the car and just went out and ate a sandwich. I think. So I think
I don't blame him.
Yeah, but like I said, the storyline has been like, when's Martin Truex going to keep sliding through? Like, when's he going to get it? Today looked like, okay, it might be the day today, and then blows a motor. Pit crew was awful. Look at Denny. Denny just kind of just floating around like he usually does. Hit his whole playoffs inside the top 5, and then that breaks, and then you're looking at, wow, he's 10 points out of the line now. So what a terrible turn of event. Good turn of event for Bell, but an awful turn of events for Denny and Martin Truex.
And what's funny too, Travis, was Chris Gabehart had them off sequence compared to everybody else, and everybody else came back to the sequence of Denny Hamlin. Like they set the trend that was the winning trend.
Yep.
And, because he would be, what was it, like 7th or 8th, and then he would wait 10
laps,
12
extra laps.
And most often time that's a distance. That's like a Michael McDowell. I'm trying to do everything I can to get a caution strategy. And, and everybody's like, it may work, it may not work. And it was perfect. I mean, he'd gain 2 to 3 spots every single time they would sequence that way. And, and then finally gets it up front and the car's fast. And then it just all went to hell. And from a guy that looked to be completely in control of the playoffs, it just takes like that. And I did see a quote, and I don't know if you saw this too, where they talked about, if he doesn't win the championship, how do you feel about it? And he's like, well, with today's playoff format, that's just the way it is. And let me preface it this way. Denny Hamlin's a good driver. The reason why Denny Hamlin hasn't won a championship is because Denny Hamlin. He just hasn't been good enough in the playoffs to win a championship. I mean, it is some luck, you don't know when your car's going to snap something and hit the wall, but you also can't set yourself up to have this position to where you're now on the outside looking in. I don't know. I feel for Denny because it is some bad luck in the playoffs, but at the same time, you got to win a damn race, and he just hasn't won a race since these playoffs started.
I mean, think about 2011. Was it 2011? Yeah, it was 2011 when he went into the playoffs just dominating, essentially. All he had to do is really finish top 15, and he wins the championship, and he wrecks.
Yep.
Boom. Had an awful weekend and wrecks, and then what's his name won his 5th in a row. Jimmy won his 5th in a row. Jimmy. Yep. So, he's had his moments. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Denny's talent. Obviously, I'm not the biggest Denny Hamlin race car fan, but I'm definitely a Denny Hamlin fan, like personality fan. I think he's great for the sport. I'm looking to listen to his podcast tomorrow about what happened this weekend, his take, because he's very calm, cool, and collected on that. He's going to say that he's got to go to Martinsville and win. I mean, that's what it's going to be. Either get a crap ton of stage points and hope that essentially Ryan Blaney's got to be the one to fumble. If we really look at it, he's got to win or Ryan Blaney's got to fumble.
And these, if you're wondering what the points are, 17 points isn't a death sentence, but it also is very difficult. So like he could have some things go his way and it'd be very, very close. But think about last year, Travis. The only reason why he didn't get into the playoffs is because his nemesis passed him riding the wall. I mean, it's just those type of things that, Denny can say, oh, it's just the format. And it's like, it's just you at this time got to be clutch, bro.
Yep. And think about this too. Think about the playoffs. How many points behind was Blaney heading into today's race?
What was it? 15?
It was 17. It was also 17. Okay. But think about he had a 27 net gain, essentially. Now, well, not that much because he's only Reddick's 10 points behind. Heck, we're not even talking about Reddick, and he's 10 points compared to 17 for Truex and Hamlin.
From Sunday to Monday, Ryan Blaney gained 38 points.
He did.
So that's pretty impressive.
They did come up with a new template for that. Did you see that? The new template they came up with? It fixed that.
I did not. I'm glad there's a new
template. But think about that. I mean, a huge net gain. I mean, I hate to say this, but I hate that Reddick's getting. I know someone in the comments said something about Reddick, but I know Reddick is getting, overshadowed here. But still the storyline is going to go into the race is going to be Hamlin and Truex. That's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be. I think Byron gets in if he gets some stage points in the first one. As long as he doesn't wreck, I think he's going to be in. But you got to look at.
I think if he gets top 5 in the first stage, I think he locks himself.
He's gonna get close. He'll be super close because I'll be at least 10 points, and I think you gotta have 56, something like 56, 57 to lock yourself in. I think it's 56 to lock yourself in. But like you said, just get some stage points and finish the race. He's probably just got to finish top 20, and he's probably locked in. Yeah. But what is he? 34 points ahead of Reddick. So he's 30. So it's 20 points.
He's 30 points.
So he's got a 20-point cushion. If Reddick or someone wins, he's got 40 points or he's got 30 points, whatever. So he's got some cushion compared to everybody else. So he's essentially, in my opinion, I think he's essentially a lock unless something like see Rex in the first stage or something.
Yeah, it'd have to be like immediately, and then Tyler Reddick just dominates.
Yep, or one of the other people dominate. But like I said, it's one of those things that, you're going into it. You're playing for one spot. It's really between Blaney. I don't know. I think Chris Buescher is going to be really not. He's not going to get talked about that much. He hasn't been very good this round.
He's been horrible this round.
So you got, I know we're going to talk more about playoff stuff, but Denny and Martin Truex looking at probably going to have to win. I know 17 points. You can gain 20 points for the 2 stages, but I think it's a pretty close. Come in there and win it, and that's all. That's the only way you're going to guarantee yourself.
we do have a few comments like you alluded to. John Forrest said, I'll take a top 10 for Kevin Harvick in the Budweiser car. That was looking very questionable there for a while.
How good of a car did that look? I thought it was a sexy car.
It was a
not a bud
good-looking
drinker,
car.
but
It was a good-looking car in 20th
Yeah.
for a long, long time. But they worked on that car and found a way. He also said Reddick disappointed me, and now my daughter driver's a lot going into Martinsville because she chose Christopher Bell. And Reddick disappointed me as he didn't run up front. He still had a good race. Even Bubba Wallace finished in the top 10, and there for a while. I mean, it was like, hey, we're really fast in practice and qualifying, and then he just sank like a ton of bricks, and then ended up making a good day out.
Yeah, Reddick still finished fourth today. I mean, nothing disappointing the end result, but
right, he just didn't lead any lap.
Do anything.
I mean, he was not at the front.
He's a non-factor.
And John says SHR should be good at Martinsville as a whole. I think about the spring. John, you haven't said anything bad about Stewart Haas Racing this entire time you follow us. I love you, brother. But I get it, man. You're a fan. You're a fan. You feel like they're going to do good every single week. Hey, and congratulations. Eric Almirola got a top 10 today. Chase Briscoe was shown on the thing, not wrecking today. So it was a good day for SHR.
Hey, any day that they can take all 4 cars home in one piece and the inside around the top 15, it feels like that's a win for SHR right now. Yeah, I hate to say that, but they're the new front row motorsports as of right now. It's gonna tick you off, but hey, did you see? I know we're
Travis.
Yeah, come on. Did you see Corey LaJoy at one point? He raced himself inside the top 7 or 8, 10.
Yeah, and then passing Kyle Busch.
Where did he go? He just disappeared.
Yeah,
your Kyle Busch boy didn't. I didn't think I saw him all day.
No, he got up there in the 30 lap incident because he hadn't pitted yet, and I'm like, hey, I can see him on a restart. And he's gone. So I don't know. He ran laps today.
Hey, but I think SHR is going to have a little momentum right here. Obviously, they're going to be okay. They're going to get through this year. They're going to go do the homework. They got some new blood coming in. I think they're going to be okay. Eric is, I hate to say it, I like the dude, but not you're going to be your typical driver. I think they're going to bring some new blood in, and I think they're going to be okay. I really do. They're going to probably change some stuff around, and they'll be okay.
I do want to get to one last thing, and I kind of teased you about it earlier. So Kyle Larson, if you guys haven't seen the video, absolutely destroyed the barrels. And usually there's water in them because water gives, and it slows you down, but it gives. Sand doesn't. And they exploded magnificently.
Mr. Sandman.
Yeah. He entered Sandman. He Metallica did. He entered Sandman. And he went to Never Neverland, which was actually the garage because it ruined his race. I thought about you, which my daughter had soccer this entire weekend. They ended up winning the championship in double overtime with 1 minute left, scoring the game-winning goal. So it was a long day. Got to watch the race, and I wish I could have watched it live with you, Travis, because I could have felt your head just go straight down whenever that happened. So as a Kyle Larson fan, explain to me like I'm 12 what happened there.
So you want to explain what I did or explain what Larson did?
You can do both. I feel both will be entertaining.
So So when you have not a lot of tire left, you got to make a pit stop. So you have crew guys come out and you want to change all your tires. But in order to
let me stop you real quick, Travis. To preface that, they were losing 3 seconds off of their first lap, like 8 laps in.
Oh yeah.
I mean, tires were getting annihilated today. So
they were on the cheese grater. So Larson tried to come in super fast to catch Blaney. Well, Blaney was being very conservative because he saw it like, hey, I'm in a good position here. I don't need to speed or anything. Larson came in flying. They showed on the telemetry and stuff that he would have still made pit road speed, but Blaney slowing up that much. Larson just said, I'm going to veer right and just smoke the sand barrels. Which I'm, I guess that's where the momentum took him, because I was like, man, why didn't you could have just darted left, really? But instead of taking out Ryan Blaney and just giving it a bump, he just plowed into those sand stuff, and Mr. Sandman came out and his race was done. It caught me. So when that happened, I stood up and said, "Are you serious?" But I think there were some cuss words in there.
Yeah,
I took my remote, I spiked it on the ground, and then I walked into the room and got me a Pepsi, walked outside, and then I came back in and sat down and finished the race after I cooled down. So I got to get a new remote. I drank some Pepsis with that, and then I cooled down because he won at Vegas, so I cooled down a little bit. But
yeah.
it had seriously caught me so off guard. But if I'm gonna be honest, that is the most Larson thing I could think of how to lose a race. I've seen Larson lose a race by getting wrecked by somebody, by hitting the wall coming to the thing. I've seen Larson lose about any race you can think of. He lost because of a water bottle at Homestead in 2016. I'm trying to think of all these ways Larson has lost a race, and that is like, you know what? He can't lose a race by any other way. And then he hits the sand barrels coming into pit road. That is legit the most Larson loss I've witnessed.
Yeah, it's actually good. It's good for the channel though, because it'll be a short that I post. I don't know if I'll post it this year. I might just keep it in the back of the memory for next year. But yeah, I sat there and before the telemetry, which I didn't see that part of it, I think I was just at a loss for words.
Oh, so
because it looked like Ryan Blaney turned his car off, and that
here's the thing I didn't understand. At first, I was more ticked at Larson. I said, "Why would you drive it in there so hard?" And then they started showing the miles per hour. So the speed, pit road speed, you had to be 45 mile an hour, but you get a 5 mile per hour limit. So you get So he could have gone 50 mile an hour. Ryan Blaney was going 43 miles per hour into pit road. Larson was only going 60. So obviously 17 mile an hour, that's a big, if you're going down the interstate and you're going 70 and the next person next to you is going 87, they're going to fly around you. That's a pretty good difference. Yeah. You hate to look at it, but that's really in NASCAR, that's not a huge difference, but on the interstate comparatively, if you're going 50 mile an hour and someone goes by you going, 67, they're going to fly around you. But yeah, he came into that pit road and I think Larson would have made it. Right before he hit the barrels, he was only going 53, and he had another 50 feet to slow down 3 or 4 or 5 mile an hour. So, it is what it is, but gosh, that just very conservative. And that caught me so off guard, and I was very upset, but luckily we won. Luckily he won Vegas. He won Martinsville, but he's got to get through Martinsville, get some momentum. Hey, Cliff Daniels admitted that they've worked mostly on the Phoenix car. So he'll be okay. I just got to remember that he dominated Phoenix first time around. Should have won it. Some pit strategy got involved, and it'll all be okay. Just get through one more race, and then I'm gonna cry after Phoenix because of him hopefully winning the championship, and then I gotta wait till February for NASCAR again.
Yeah, hopefully it didn't hit an armadillo or something like
that. You know what? I can see. I mean, think about all the ways that he's lost a race: sand bale, water bottle. He got a flat tire going into, on the last corner about to win. He ran out of gas at Daytona. I
saw him smoke the wall at Pocono in person.
Yeah.
To watch
you said that. I forgot you said that. And then you had, he's lost. Name it, pit strategy. Some people reckon him. I'm thinking 10 ways that he's lost a race in his career. I just added to the list of weird ways of Kyle Larson losing a race.
Yeah, it was something. I don't remember ever seeing anything like that in my entire life. And for you new NASCAR fans, they do not have a speedometer in the car. They only go by RPMs. And traditionally, they set their gauges based upon lights. If you ever see them go down pit road, it's because they're letting them know if their speed was good or not based upon what they preset earlier in the race. So if they get flagged on the pace lap when they're down pit road, then instead of 3 yellows, they may go to 2, or 2 reds, they'll go to 1, something of that nature in whatever gear that they decide is close enough RPM wise to that speed. So if you're new to the sport, that's one way to know. They don't get to see that they're going 50 mile an hour. They have to professionally estimate. We'll just put it that way. Yeah.
He looked like LeBron over there before he plays the game. Gosh, my remote was spiked.
Yeah. So, Travis, we're going to go to our last segment here. And before we get off, we're going to burn it down. All right. So for our last segment, before we conclude here today, typically one of us will give a situation or a segment or a talking point that we want to do. But I kind of want to keep it constructed here to where we both talk about this hypothetical question of why was Homestead moved from the season finale? Because today was just another painful reminder that this is one of the best tracks on the circuit. It only gets one race date, which is itself a crime compared to like Richmond gets 2 dates, or back in the day, Texas used to get 2 dates, but we only get 1 date for Homestead. And a track that would traditionally, again, we talked about the storylines. You would have cars really, really good during the day. And, I wrongfully said that they go into the night. They don't do that now since they moved the race up to 2 o'clock. So that was an error on my part. But traditionally, you would see cars really good during the day that would suck at night, or vice versa. They would, be really, really bad during the day and then come alive at night. And we just get to see probably one of the best tracks on the circuit no longer get to hold the final race. So, would you be for Homestead coming back? Do you like it the way it is, or do you have another situation that you would present to NASCAR for the way that they do the finale the way it is now?
Bring it back, man. And it's just not because I'm a Kyle Larson fan. It's not. It produces just incredible racing. It's a driver's track. Your car might not be like the best, but if you can drive multiple lanes and find something and you're very technical, you can find a way to be fast there. It's a track that has the multiple grooves like we talked about, but even if you don't have the best car, you can find a way to win there. You can find a way to, define speed. Christopher Bell is a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly. I would say you said that today by talking about
Christopher Bell. He had a 20th place car, but worked on it. But they found a way. He found a way to find grip, find just some speed, a way to win, and that's what it comes down to. It's has no grip. It's a cheese grater essentially with tires. It's a track that I feel it's one of the 1.5 miles that you can say that I even put this above Kansas, that it's a driver track where you could show like who's the best driver, like who could take a risk around the wall. You're going to take a risk all the time damaging your car. Like who's got the cooners, who's going to play out the best strategy. And, obviously with Martin Truex, pit crew came into factor, and then it comes into the driver. It brings in almost everybody, where like a Phoenix brings in, all right, who's up front? Like who plays that strategy correctly? But if you play the strategy correctly, you can just stay up front, even if you're a 25th place car.
Yep.
Where Homestead, it's like, all right, if you're not on it every lap, you can get sent back to it, even if you don't have the best car, but you can figure out a line or figure out the track. You can still make passes. Strategy comes into factor. Pit crew. I think it just is a whole like team effort that goes into Homestead that really can show like what it's made of. Even if you don't have the best car, you can still win the championship.
And I think that you've taken kind of what I've been thinking in my mind, and I want to compare it to any other sport for their championship. You know, it's like a football game, it's like a basketball game, it's like a baseball game. Like you could be garbage with your starting pitcher, but your bullpen's lights out. You end up winning the game because you're scratching and clawing to find a way, like Christopher Bell was today. Or you could be down at halftime. You know, like, hey, we haven't hit it yet, but once the sun goes down, I think we're set up pretty good. Or if it comes down to one last pit stop, you know, hey guys, I really need you to run this one last play to perfection. If you do that, we'll close out the rest of this race because all we have to do is get a first down. And it's 3rd and 1. You know, it's just a way to completely encapsulate the entire team. Because I'll be honest with you, Travis, I think the next 2 weeks are going to be bad. I know you're more optimistic than myself when it comes to this. I'm not. I think that Martinsville with this car is going to be terrible again. You're not allowed to wall ride anymore, so that's not going to be able to save it if it's a bad race. That's illegal. And I just despise Phoenix. It's a cool looking track. I like the way that is put out there, but why in God's name is the last race of the year? I will not know outside the fact that they put money into it to make it look really, really cool. Exactly. So, you know, it's just unfortunate that Homestead had to die for this reason, and it was never granted another opportunity to have another race with it, because this race definitely could support the action by the fans. To this point, I have a friend that's Canadian. He watches Formula One. Um, if you want to know what happens in Formula One, the guy with the number 1 car won today. So there you go. People did get disqualified though. But you know, today I reached out to him, Travis, and I go, hey. He's asked me a question the other night where we were playing NHL. He goes, what is it about NASCAR that makes it exciting? You know, when do they pit? And I'm like, well, sometimes they pit for gas. Oh, and he's like, they pit for gas? Formula One, you don't pit for gas. You know, you just get a full tank and then you run it to the very end. And I'm like, yeah. Or there's some tracks they pit for tires before they pit for gas.
Yeah.
His mind exploded. That was today. Today they pitted for tires before they pitted for gas. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of strategy versus just turning left in this sport. Like it's a really complicated sport when you break it down from a non-elementary level. And today I said, hey, you want to see one of those races that are going to be a really good race? Today would be the day.
Today's the day.
Yeah, I don't know if he ended up doing it or not, but I just feel like today Homestead showcases the best of what NASCAR is. And we got it today. And the fact that it's not the final race is very disappointing to me.
Yeah. And like I said, it punches me in the gut every time I watch a race there the last couple of years and go, wow, like I wish that was a finale. And it's just a race that it takes in every factor. And, you know, if you want to have a end of the season Super Bowl or end of the season one race thing, that's the track. You got risk, pit strategy, driver, car. I mean, everything into that race.
Day to night transition.
You got everything into that race. So
we got one last message for John Forster, and it says, I would love to see WWT Speedway as the final race. As long as the guy that won it this year wins it, I'm all for it, John. So you can try to guess at home. And I guess I'm becoming this is what's happened to me, and I'm scared, Travis. I'm having a midlife crisis. My driver went to Chevy. I went and got a Jeff Gordon shirt this weekend, and I was scared. I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but I committed. And then, for God's sakes, I went and got a Dale Jr. die cast. I found it. I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. My family's going to disown me. All I have is Toyotas, and everything.
I love it. I love the Jeff Gordon shirt. I'll wear mine next time.
I'm sure. It probably won't take a lot for you to go, oh, I guess I'll put my Jeff Gordon shirt.
Nope.
But if you want to support the show or find other ways to find us, here you go. Facebook, Patreon, and Rumble. Those are the ways that you can find us and help support the channel. Outside of that, guys, that is going to do it. Travis, you have anything before we jump off?
Nope. I think we're good. I think everyone have a good week and hopefully have some stuff for the midweek live stream.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out if Colleague is actually going to run a race team.
Oh my God. That's going to be the talk on Wednesday. That's going to be half the show, actually.
And there's other things we didn't get to. Congratulations to Legacy Motor Club. You decided to let John Hunter Nemechek run your car this week, and he got almost next to last, while the guy that's supposed to win it or was in it won the truck race. So congratulations. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that and a few other things as well. Don't want to keep you all night on a Sunday, so make sure you check in on Wednesday. For Travis Butt, I'm Ryan